So I asked this question in a Facebook group with like a couple thousand coaches in it the other day. And the question was like, if you're a coach who wants to write a book, what's the number one reason why you haven't yet? And a lot of people talked about publishing deals or self-publishing, or is it even worth it if I can get a publishing deal? So let's talk about that today. So, I have written 2 books and I'm working on the third, and both of them are self-published, as will be the third one. And, I basically didn't have the option of doing traditional publishing. Nobody was going to give me a publishing deal with nowadays you have to have, either if you're not like already an established author, who has gotten publishing deal in the past, you're not just going to get one on your book. The caveat is if you have, 1 million YouTube subscribers or something, and they can see like that you're going to be out there helping to push this book, they'll give you a publishing deal nowadays. So if you're growing a platform, you can know that when that gets big enough, then it will help you. But I am not at the point where I have that swag, that sway, whatever the word is. I can't sway them in my favor. And so I've just always self-published. And I kind of thought self-publishing was for losers, when I got started too. I was like, dang it, self-published, I would even make that disclaimer when people would say, wow, you published 2 books. I would always say, yeah, well, they're self-published, like talking myself down for some reason. But the interesting thing is that both of my self-published books have brought in multiple 6 figures in backend revenue directly from people who read those books and went on to work with me. I don't think anybody's ever commented about how my books are self-published. No, at least not to me. And I dug into this, and it turns out that there are some very highly successful authors out there nowadays who have turned to self-publishing, who sell millions of copies. They're best-selling authors, and they self-publish their books. They've just said, to hell with publishing companies who are trying to control my book and take my revenue, my royalties. It's just not worth it anymore. And I encourage you to do your research on that too. I think you'll be surprised. Self-publishing is really growing fast. And now there's even this thing called hybrid publishing, where you can publish a book that's like you have like some help from the publisher, or like you could self-publish it and then let it hit like a certain amount of sales and stuff. And then when you have a little bit of proof of concept, the publisher will come in and like republish it with them. And then you'll have them like backing you. And so it's like a 2-stage thing. And I've heard of a lot of success stories like that. But like if you're, especially if you're in the niche of like nonfiction and you are trying to write a book that helps a certain person get a certain outcome, and then you want them to hopefully, upgrade to working with you in your backend coaching program, like the self-published versus traditional thing, like isn't even a conversation. It doesn't matter, right? The book, you're going to be selling that through your own efforts, through paid ads into your funnel, through doing podcast interviews, through doing a YouTube video where you tell people to go buy it on Amazon or point them to your website or whatever. That's where your sales are going to come from. That's where your clients are going to come from. And nobody's going to scroll it. Like if you buy it from your website, then you can't even tell if it's self-published or if you have a publishing deal. The only way you can tell that is if you went to Amazon and you scrolled down and you looked at the fine print and you know what I mean? And nobody does that. Like, so this whole thing, like, it doesn't even matter. Because the goal of the book is not to be a New York Times bestseller. It's to get you clients. Now, one thing I will say, I was at a virtual like book writing summit, and Michael Hyatt was speaking. He's a real successful author. He was former CEO of a big publishing company. He said, when you self-publish a book, which he publishes books as well. It's interesting. He does like one traditionally published book every couple of years. Then he said, I self-publish books as needed to grow my business, which I'm like, that's exactly what I help people do, and what I do myself. You self-publish a book when you need a book to help you sell a coaching program. That's basically what he was saying. And he said, when you self-publish a book, then you want to make it look like it's not self-published. So that's really what matters. If we're talking about, worrying about being a loser because you're self-published or whatever, no one cares really. No one knows. They're not going to like look it up. But they will know if your book title and your cover sucks, because a publishing company would not let you publish something that was crappy. But if you self-publish, you can do anything. And so it's not advisable to do this without any research, without any help. You need to have a good-looking cover, a good-looking title that just looks professional. It should look on the same level as the books that have publishing deals. This isn't that hard to do if you know what you're doing. And you really, like, when you hold your book side by side with a traditionally published book, you shouldn't be able to tell that much of a difference. If you pull that off, then you are totally good to self-publish a book. And, most of you listen to this, no offense, you're probably like me, that you can't get a traditional publishing deal. You could try, you could find an agent and pitch your idea and send it to 30 other agents. And, if you get really lucky, they're going to find one small company that's going to give you like a $3,000 advance, which is tiny. And then they're going to control your manuscript and ask you to make all these changes. And then they're going to take royalties from you for a long time to repay that advance, and then continue to take royalties in perpetuity after that. It's just not worth all that, considering what the goals for your book are. I hope that helps. If you want my help with all of this, this is what I do in my program, where I work one-on-one with coaches to help them publish books that generate them coaching clients. You can learn all about that at brianelwood.net/book, the link in the description. And tomorrow we are going to be tackling some other big objections in the idea of, how do I write my book? And one of the biggest ones is not really knowing exactly what you're going to write about, not having clarity on the book concept. We'll tackle that tomorrow. I'll see you there.